tourism, other invited guests, stakeholders and beneficiaries of this upcoming project, those listening via social media, the media, ladies and gentlemen, let me again greet you a pleasant good morning. At this moment, I'd like to make a short change in the program to invite the Honorable Roland Royer, Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, and the PAL rep for this area to give us the welcome remarks. Honorable Royer, let's make him feel welcome.
Thank you, P.S. Burton. First, let me recognize Honorable Costa Frederick, Minister for the Environment, Honorable Julian Defoe, Permanent Secretaries, the Mayor of Portsmouth, the Parish Priest of St. John, other distinguished guests, media, a pleasant good morning to all. Welcome to the historic Cabritz National Park, one of Dominica's treasured cultural and historic landmarks. Let me begin by thanking all of you for your response to the joint invitation from the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Agriculture to the official launch of the Government of Dominica Leveraging Ecotourism and Biodiversity Project. Today, Friday, April 21, 2023, marks another major milestone to Dominica's overall quest to achieve long-term sustainable growth in the tourism sector and, more importantly, to become a climate-resilient nation. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this momentous occasion. This project is a direct benefit of the Government of Dominica's Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project, whose goal is to advance the government's comprehensive socio-economic development policy of conserving our natural resources and safeguarding the integrity of the ecosystem for the benefit of current and future generations. Further, in addition to the preservation and conservation of Dominica's biodiversity and natural environment, it is expected to produce economic benefits for local communities that will ultimately enhance the standard of living of persons who reside near those protected landmarks. This economic benefit will, of course, be experienced nationally as the spending power of those directly impacted increases. This ecotourism biodiversity project provides an innovative avenue to maximize the environmental and economic benefit of ecotourism while minimizing ecological damage and disruptions of local communities. Its objective to improve the management of three of our treasured national parks, namely Mount Wapito National Park, the Cabritz National Park, the Mount Dablute National Park, is sure to do just that. As many of you are aware, I'm from the north, the community of Cottage to be precise. I spent many days at Fort Shirley Cabritz National Park, not just for school activities, but also for recreation. So the implementation of this project is not only viewed as a national responsibility, but for me, it is also deeply personal. In highlighting the benefits of this project, we must also be cognizant of the momentous or the monumental task ahead. In addition to the four components of the project, namely protected area planning, biodiversity, sustainable nature-based tourism operations, sustainable livelihoods, and project management, to achieve the overarching objective, there are a few concepts which must be integrated into the development framework. One, practices that promote sustainability. Two, the inclusion of local stakeholders in the process. And three, the collaboration between government and non-governmental organizations. Collectively, these principles will not only help to maximize the economic returns, but can only enhance the legitimacy and sustainability of this project. As a ministry and government, we are deeply invested in seeing this project come to fruition to yield tangible dividends and eventually improve the livelihood of the population in the respective communities. As previously stated, this project is meant to boost the local economies and create sustainable jobs whilst concurrently preserving and protecting our natural environment and cultural assets. To this end, resources have been made available by the Global Environmental Fund, the world's largest funder of biodiversity and protection, nature restoration, pollution reduction, and climate change for the implementation of the project. The financing of EC $9.5 million is channeled for the World Bank as a GEF implementing agency. This initiative being launched today is but one of the delivery vehicles to attain the national goals as stated in the National Resilience Development Strategy of Dominica 2030 and the Dominica Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan 2020 to 2030. It is my sincere hope that today's launch will signal our firm commitment to this project, which is sure to enhance our environment for inclusive development and economic growth. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Minister Roy. I'm sure that we can do better than that. So I will now present the overview of the project. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has secured grant funding from the Global Environmental Facility, GEF, the world's largest funder of biodiversity protection, nature restoration, pollution reduction, and climate change for the implementation of the project, leveraging ecotourism for biodiversity protection in Dominica. The GEF financing is channeled through the World Bank as a GEF implementing agency. As such, the project is being implemented alongside other World Bank financed operations in Dominica, namely the Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project. I'm looking for my slide because I have a PowerPoint presentation. Anyway, we'll continue. The project's main development objective is to improve management of Dominica's free national parks, got it. Can we just cut it, please? Can we just cut it? Can we put it on mute, please? Thank you. I'll just continue. So the total amount of GEF financing for the project, as was mentioned by Minister Roye, is US $3.5 million or 9.5 million EC dollars. The project implementation is for a period of 5 years from January this year into June of 2027. The Leveraging Ecotourism for Biodiversity Protection project is intended to improve the management of Dominica's free national parks, namely the Mon Tuapita National Park, the Cabris National Park, and the Mon Diablote National Park. The project aims to transform tourism from a potential threat to an opportunity for biodiversity by strengthening the management of the protected areas and by expanding their sustainable ecotourism use in an inclusive manner. While the project is focused on the preservation and conservation of the country's biodiversity, it is also concerned with promoting and supporting activities that improve the livelihoods of the population situated in the vicinity of the protected areas. This includes special consideration for the vulnerable and the Kalinago people. The project has 4 main components. Component 1 will look at protected area planning, improving national and local capacities for protected area monitoring and management, and biodiversity and sustainable ecotourism operations. In this component, it is intended to improve the institutional arrangements for enhancing the national capacity for planning and for management of protected areas. It is geared towards improving capacities at the national and local levels. In this regard, the project will deliver 3 management plans, 1 for each of the national parks in Dominica. Component 2, biodiversity and sustainable ecotourism operation, and we will be looking at enhancing nature-based tourism infrastructure, visitors' safety and experience, and increasing capacities and resources for nature-based tourism trail management. Under this component, it will focus on improving tourism infrastructure that is in harmony with the natural environment, as well as visitors' access, safety, and experience. In that regard, the project provides for the construction of facilities or improvements to be made to existing services, such as interpretation centers, benches, gazebos, shelters, restrooms, and viewing platforms. The foundation for decision-making with respect to the various types of interventions under this component has been laid out based on the result findings of the recently concluded audit and design consultancy for the Waitikobuli National Trail. Component 3 will look at sustainable livelihoods, enhancing opportunities for sustainable livelihoods, and reviving traditional Kalinago knowledge. Under that component, it seeks to provide opportunities for improving sustainable livelihoods in a way that strengthens biodiversity. The Kalinago territory is particularly targeted under this component. This will be accomplished through investment in sustainable land use and through the preservation and intergenerational transfer of traditional Kalinago knowledge that complements biodiversity. Women and youth are also singled out for special consideration in terms of promoting sustainable livelihoods. Component 4, ladies and gentlemen, must be there because we know that we need funding for administrative support, financial management, monitoring, evaluation, and audit costs for the life of the project. Component 1, some of the outputs. I'd like to look at some of the outputs of the project, what we expect. The project will strengthen the institutional framework for protected area planning and management. This will include demarcation and establishment of a buffer zone for Mon Diablote National Park, update of management plans for the Mon Diablote and the Mon Tuapito National Parks, and capacities for protective area monitoring and management. And we expect the provision of training programs and communication plan for co-management of the Mon Tuapito National Park. The provision of monitoring equipment and training for the forestry division, which is very critical, and assessment on the impacts of the IAS. Component 2, some of the outputs we expect will be enhancing ecotourism infrastructure, visitors' safety, which is very critical, and experience. This will include update of the GPS trail system for the Waitikobuli National Trail and protected area feeder trails, improvement of ecotourism infrastructure and interpretation, and the establishment of an electronic user fee system, or e-ticketing. We also expect increasing capacities and resources for ecotourism trail management, which will be done through capacity building for development and maintenance of ecotourism trails. The outputs for component 3, which is sustainable livelihoods, will in some way focus on the indigenous community, but also on other vulnerable groups. And we will look at enhancing opportunities for sustainable livelihoods, empowering Kalinago population, undertaking demarcation and mapping program for the Kalinago territory, as well in investments in tourism products and services. We will also seek to look at reviving the traditional Kalinago knowledge, to include capacity building programs of traditional Kalinago knowledge and investments in traditional Kalinago tools and practices. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to look at some of the key stakeholders and partners in this process. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Public Works, the Kalinago Council. As you know, we cannot go in the Kalinago territory unless the Kalinago Council gives us the permission. Dexia, the Dominica Air and Seaports Authority, hiking groups, and village councils. Some of our project beneficiaries, and we look at the direct project beneficiaries, include communities and their members in targeted landscapes, and particularly individual entrepreneurs, small, medium, and micro-sized enterprises, community-based organizations, non-governmental organizations, women and youth, our community groups, and other stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, the budget for the project, as I mentioned earlier, is just over $3.5 million US dollars. And the protected areas planning, we have just over $839,000 budgeted for that component. Biodiversity and sustainable ecotourism operations, just over $1.7 million. For the sustainable livelihoods component, $740,000, and we see the little amount for project coordination and management, which is just over $180,000. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Leveraging Ecotourism for Biodiversity Protection project has at its central remit the sustainable use of the natural assets of the national parks and the Waitukubuli National Trail to promote activities that generate employment and revenues for the benefit of the affected populations, particularly women, youth, and the Kalinago community. I thank you. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, I will now invite to the podium to give us the feature address the Honorable Kozia Frederick, the Minister for Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. Let's make him feel welcome.
Good day. I would like to first acknowledge my cabinet colleagues here, Minister of the Blue and Green Economy and Agriculture, also Honorable Julian Defoe, who is the Minister of State in special responsibilities for fisheries, the Mayor of the Town of Portsmouth, the Project Manager of the PIU, the Permanent Secretaries here, a former parliamentary colleague, Mr. Esprit, the staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, Tourism, and also the staff of the Ministry of Environment and the Director of the Forestry Division. In the Kalinago language, native tongue, Mabrika. So I'm very happy to be here this morning among, I feel, friends of nature, friends of Kalinago, friends of Dominica. And so I'm very pleased to acknowledge the hard work of everyone. And I speak more specifically, though, of the wonderful folks at the Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, Constituency Empowerment, and the folks at the Ministry of Agriculture and Blue and Green Economy. I also want to applaud the work of the technical committee who have designed this wonderful project. And as it's clearly articulated, leveraging our ecotourism for biodiversity protection. And so the long preparation process was critical in supporting Dominica's goal of becoming the first climate resilient country. And I'll tell you further, and for our well-being for generations to come. And so conserving and protecting our unique biodiversity is a non-negotiable endeavor. Non-negotiable endeavor. If we are serious about achieving our climate resilient goals. And so, Whitey Kubuli, which we have come to call Dominica. Whitey Kubuli, tall is a body. Dominica, Sunday. So Whitey Kubuli has a wealth in its forest. Yes? And so our forests have a rich biodiversity that really supports our fundamental ecosystem services. And so really, this is the key to our long-term sustainable development goals. And so by focusing on the proper management of our forest resources, this biodiversity protection project definitely will ensure benefits for the future. Now, I want us to be very, very clear exactly what we mean by protecting our biodiversity. I'll be very clear about it. It has to be clearly defined. And in a nutshell, it is simply the bedrock that underpins our healthy forests and all of these services they provide to us. And so for all Dominicans, this affects positively two main sectors. So first, there's the agricultural sector. Because our rich biodiversity provides the foundation for our agricultural sector. It contributes significantly to our economy. And we have a goal of $700 million, which can be assisted through this venture. For those of us who are the simple people, plants need to be pollinated. And so we need the diverse biodiversity, diverse forest and flora and fauna to engage that movement. This really makes the conservation critical in sustaining our agricultural economy. So, and secondly, there's tourism. It appears that our biodiversity is a major attraction to overnight tourists to our island. Because these folks come to enjoy the diverse biodiversity across our country. And so they create employment directly through the hotels, through the food and beverage industry, but also indirectly by engaging in other activities and in recreation. So it's an important part. Now, beyond those two major economic sectors, our biodiversity really underpins our cultural identity, who we are as Whitey Kubulians, who we are as Dominicans. And so we must highlight the importance of traditional knowledge and culture. Now, biodiversity, such as extreme weather events and the sea level rising. And so protecting forest ecosystems that store carbon, regulate watersheds, are very important because it also protects our abundance of drinking water, H2O. They also serve as a natural barrier against storm surges and flooding. And so really and truly, friends, they are all essential to ensure Whitey Kubuli's resilience to climate shocks in a changing world. We are not the major emitters of any pollutants, however, we are on the front line of climate change and its impact. So our forests also provide potential value to our economy from the major carbon sink services. Very, very crucial. And so these are just some of the reasons why we need to unite around a common purpose to protect our natural wealth. And this is why the objectives and goals, as articulated by P.S. Burton, a fellow Kalinago warrior, is so important. Because they will definitely strengthen the systems and all of the approaches to effectively manage this unique resource. Because without them, I dare say, I prophesy as I suspect, because without them, we would not have the honor to call this land Nature Island. So, friends, colleagues, I really want to thank all of us who have the united approach and effort in designing this important project. I commend the strong collaboration between all partners, and especially with leadership from Minister Roye and Minister Charles, who is not here, and also the good people at the Ministry of Agriculture. So I really, really do look forward to a meaningful partnership. It's one government, from what I know. And so we're not going to split down ministries or departments. And so we're going to continue moving forward to ensure we remain steadfast in that fight against, to protect our biodiversity. And in every sense of the word to ensure the protection of our well-being for future generations. In the Kainago language, I would say thank you, Ayohora.
Ayahoro, Minister Frederick, for your presentation. At this moment, we will have a short video presentation. Hope it works this time. I was just informed that it's not working or it's not available. So we will now move on to the vote of thanks, and I will invite Mr. Ronald Charles, Forestry Specialist at the PIU, to give us the vote of thanks. Mr. Charles, let's make him feel welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Roland Roye, Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister for Environment, Honorable Julian Defoe, Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, P.S. Sevre, Regis Sevre, P.S. Sylvanie Burton, Mrs. Kerry Brady, Father Paul, Kevin John Baptist representing the DAIC, Mr. Kevin Stevenson, my boss, and brothers and sisters, thank you. A vote of thanks always seems to be a very easy task to do. And I see P.S. Valmo is here. Always seems to be an easy task to do, but sometimes you run into difficulty when you miss out certain important and critical contributors, to whatever you involve in. And so this morning, if I missed you, if I didn't say thank you to you, know that you are in our thoughts. First of all, we thank the Almighty for today. He's brought us here today, and Father Paul has so rightly said it, given us charge over what is around us. We thank him for that. We call it our own Garden of Eden. We are put in charge of something blessed, something that's good. We thank God for that. We thank all the officials gathered here. A couple of days ago, we heard, after we were planning here, we heard about an activity in Roseau this morning, which could have competed with us. But the officials, the government officials here decided to be here with us, and we thank them for that. We thank them for taking time off. We thank the permanent secretaries, as you mentioned, the various heads of departments of government. I see Mr. Burton, Minchington Burton, Director of Forestry, here with us this morning. I want to single out the technical working group who worked through COVID, the period of COVID, at a time when COVID was really hot here. And we had a lot of difficulty coming together wearing masks. But through that period, we stuck through thick and thin. I want to thank them for their work, thank them, and to tell them that the work has just begun. We have 5 years ahead of us to implement and deliver on a project to the benefit of Dominica. want to thank all of you present there, all those who participated, who made things here, the PIU staff. PIU staff, they have to double up, their regular work in the agriculture project and to work to put this project together in very difficult and challenging times. And they are here. I will single out about PIU, you know yourselves, and we thank you for that. The media for supporting us this morning, they came in full force. They are here. We live broadcast. Those of you listening on social media, on Kyrie, on DBS, thank you for taking time out to be here with us and for supporting this very small but impressive project. Again, thank you, God bless you, and we look forward to working hard for the next couple of years thereafter.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for the vote of thanks. We are still trying to see if we can play this short video. So just bear a little patience with us, please. Thank you.
Explain what's happening. So the intention was to play a video of the project, but the project is being launched. So there is nothing anticipating that we could look at the project. Project was asked. We had some videographers to prepare the project. And what they did, they prepared a project on the biodiversity of Dominica rather than the components. So we have heard the various components of the project by the PS. What we're going to do is just enjoy a video of Dominica's biodiversity, which is reflective of the reason why we had this project and is launching that project. So we are going ahead, and the video controller is just uploading the project so we can enjoy a project. All right? We have a few at a time. But thank you very much, Ron, for thanking us. Let me extend on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture the presence of our ministers. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And the persons who have joined us in this small launching program, very important, will be engaging you, either through the technical committee that will be meeting to reviewing activities. We will be putting out various TORs and advertisement for engagement of consultants to undertake the work. And there is quite a lot of work that has to be undertaken under the project over the next couple months. We are looking forward to your collaboration, your cooperation, and coordinating with us in ensuring that we have this project. It is critical, and as we have here, we will now enjoy the video presentation. Thank you very much for coming, and we're looking forward to the implementation of the project going forward. Thank you.
array of hot springs. Dominica is a true nature's paradise for adventure seekers. Dominica is known as a native island of the Caribbean. Torrey is the home, which is a mountain, a river for every day of the year, majestic waterfalls, the second largest oil lake in the world, and an array of hot springs. Dominica is a true nature's paradise for adventure seekers, hikers, and divers looking to explore the island's wonders. Dominica has a population of 73,543 predominantly black.
The video is now on, ladies and gentlemen, so you may view. Thank you.